now returned to close quarters, our Kickstarter discussion this Friday, the 14th of October. We are discussing internet and the decentralization of the popular music industry with specific critical reflections on tech and diversification of music. Joining me for this discussion is seasoned arts journalist Andrew Kaggwa. A very good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good. Am I seasoned?
Seasoned. Don't look at it in terms of the food and anything like that. Seasoned, there is so many years under your bag, and you seem to now have a very good understanding of the industry, the dynamics, the ecosystem, and you can always, no doubt, be able to share some of these aspects. You will be, of course, taking us through this. We are the blind man here, and we have the cane, but you will be walking beside us to ensure that we get. So let me bring you up to speed in terms of the discussion that we have this morning. Computer and internet technologies are enhancing the ability of independent artists and labels to promote, market and distribute more music more cheaply and widely. Many have suggested that the benefits of online digital distribution will reduce the barriers to entry in the music industry for independent labels and artists, allowing them to reach consumers more directly by bypassing the gatekeeping powers of major labels and distributors, as well as of traditional media channels. Accordingly, some have argued that with the internet, the music industry would be decentralized or democratized, as the independent labels and new actors in the industry displace the big guys and decrease their control over music markets. That's a whole lot of stuff. Help me understand.
No, okay. Yeah, truth is in other countries, because I've never really believed that record labels control the industry in Africa, because it's a new thing, and for the past 10 or more years, record labels in Africa have actually been failing. I'm talking about the foreign labels, because I do not remember anyone Sony last signed in the last 15 years. Okay, not the last 15 years, but their very first 5 years. I don't remember any person they signed and it actually worked out, because I remember they got an artist from Kenya that was ecstatic. It didn't work out. In Uganda, they got Keko. It did not work out. There was another one, I can't put a name to, but she was South African. It didn't work out. And that was majorly because the industry in Africa was already decentralized. Like people knew how to get to their audience without a dictation from a record label.
Supposed labels, yeah.
Yeah, because you see, with the way it works in other markets, is that record labels are more than just a label. You find a label like Sony, and they're involved in film, they're involved in broadcast. So it's a whole ecosystem that they control.
That's right.
And because they control this very big ecosystem, it's easy for them to get your music to places. They will get it to some of their medias, to some of their platforms, which a person that's doing it independently can't. Now, when it comes to Uganda, like, yeah, you have an MG, that's a media house, but they are not running a record label. So anyone can kind of get to NMG to get their music there, which kind of levels the playing ground. So I think with Africa, mostly smaller markets like Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria is a big market, but it was quite disorganized. So major labels barely played a hand. Even right now, actually, when there are labels in Nigeria, an artist can still make it when they are very independent. But of course, where the internet usually comes in is maybe how much a label can throw at their artists when they are promoting them. Because let's face it, the money and the strategy that swings through around Azawi is not the same as an independent artist would even have or know how to do. Probably many of them will, I think I might end up dissing someone when I say this, but probably many of them will end up thinking like, yeah, maybe if I put a lot of pictures of myself showing a lot of skin, that's kind of promoting myself on the internet, which is most of the times not the case. So,
wow, interesting there. Now that calls for adaptation or creation of a hybrid model, one that understands that if you don't have record labels that can do these particular finer aspects of artists and the management that comes around them, a hybrid model that allows for maximizing what can come out of the traditional concerts as we know them, and how people transition from that. For example, after the concert is done, is an artist able, for example, to quickly upload the entire concert, so to speak, all the highlights of the concert onto the various platforms, so that those who didn't attend that concert can also have the feel and inevitably be able to make some money and reach a wider market.
Yeah, that's so true. And of course, it's one of the things we keep talking about the industry, that an artist should be able to make money when they are not performing.
Yeah.
Like, an artist should be able to go and live. They should be able to have Christmas with their family, because it happens so that in Uganda, whenever the rest of us are trying to rest, the artists are really working so hard.
Overdrive.
Yes, and yet even when we are not resting, they are also not resting. So it's like they work through the year and then they just continue like that. And you see, the dangers with that is that most of the times when, say, they get an accident and they cannot perform, we usually end up collecting money for them, because it's like they've been living for the day. Like,
they're always looking forward to the next concert.
Yes.
Just like the average corporate guy is looking to the next paycheck.
Yes, and there is Museveni used to talk about that in, President Museveni used to talk about that in during COVID, like, is it Nkolayale? Okay, I don't remember the term he used.
Neither can I don't want to speculate on that.
But yeah, so there is a way artists are living, like simply are living for today, yet there is so much they can do with their music. For instance, you've talked about uploading their concerts. I believe the very first artist to do something like that, something drastic like that, might have been Maurice Kiria. He had a concert at Serena. It was well shot from all angles. He didn't really put it at YouTube, because I don't think YouTube was really famous at that time, but it was bought as content, I think, for Brussels. It was one of the way you can watch a movie on your flight. So it was one of those things you can watch as you're flying, his concert. So yeah, there are those opportunities. At the moment, Ugandans are selling a lot of content.
A lot of content.
Filmmakers are selling content to airlines. I think artists should also be plugging in, like a concert like Hazawi's. I think it was an interesting concert. Like, we should be able to see it as we're flying. Yeah.
At the half-hour mark, we shall be going for a break. But before we do that, allow me just linger on the aspect of production. You spoke about the fact that Maurice Kiria was the first to do something around uploading content or a music show or a concert for later viewing. The production costs for such a project means you won't necessarily depend on a label, but a production house that either in the filming business specifically, that also comes at a cost. Shouldn't those that are in this business be able to look up to for this opportunity?
I think they're already doing it. They're already on it. I've never seen a Ugandan concert that doesn't have a crew recording. The problem is we do not know what happens to this footage.
Because essentially, I would expect, for example, if I was looking forward so much to going to a particular artist's concert, but I didn't, and then there's an opportunity to go to either his page or her page, and then I'm able to get the feel of this concert that a friend of mine perhaps continues to talk about as having been epic.
It's not even about missing. At times it's about the memories, because there are very many concerts I've attended outside Uganda and they were really well shot. And most of the times you think about, you be there and you think about a song and you're like, geez, that live performance was off the hook. And if you know where to get it, you will still go back and see it. Like after Zawi's concert, I still go and see her performance of Bam to Tedda, because geez, on stage it was really amazing.
There we are.
So at times it's not even about missing the concert. It's about going back, like those live versions at times sound different. So like people should find a way of uploading, because I've never seen a Ugandan concert without a crew.
Apart from what we talked about, how can musicians still be able to make something out of themselves?
Okay.
Without necessarily
being on stage.
Yeah, being on stage.
Let's first start with being on stage. One, most of the artists make 50% of their revenue by performing.
Got concerts.
Yes, from concerts. But of course, when you're doing this, you have to be very exclusive, and it is not bad to be expensive. Like, it wouldn't hurt if you're performing in very few places, but for money that's worth it. The reason I had to first start from here is because an artist was involved in an accident, I think, a few weeks back, and the colleague he was with died, who was also an upcoming artist.
That's right.
And then days after that, there was another artist who was involved in an accident. And many of the reasons why this come up is because many of these artists perform in very many places,
and
for very little money. And before you know, people are using borders to navigate like 4 venues in a night. And when I mean 4 venues, I'm talking about a venue in Kamocha and another venue in Mukono and probably another venue in Entebbe. Like, you even wonder, how is someone navigating these venues? And it gets crazy. Like, someone is trying to go to Mbarara at about 10 because they have a performance in Mbarara at probably, they were scheduled to perform in Mbarara that day. So yes, charge highly, but make sure you're performing in very few places. So how do they make money without being on stage? One, a song is a property. Like, a song does not expire when it stops playing. There is, at the moment, we are very lucky that we are in that time where we have people buying film content. And trust me, film and music move hand in hand. Like, you cannot separate film from music. People are looking for music to license in their dramas, in their films, in their documentaries. And that's one of the very fastest ways someone can make some money from a song, at times without even ever performing it at all. Do you know how much money people actually earned from licensing their music to Queen of Katwe?
Wow. I remember the story was big.
Yes.
And the euphoria around it, so I can imagine the money must have been.
But most of the people who ended up with music, especially the ones that were non-popular, are people that had some sort of a management that can go and pitch.
Sure.
As an artist, I think everything you do, especially if you're not famous, that people will look for you, most of the things you will do will start from pitching. You pitch yourself, you will tell them you can, you show them what you can do, and then people see whether they can work with you. Like, we do not know how much money Sampa the Great made from her song Never Forget being on the new Black Panther trailer. But Sampa the Great was literally a very unknown artist.
Unknown, Tosa.
Anyone could imagine a Nigerian artist could have been on that. But this is Sampa the Great from Zambia. Like, no one even cared who she was before, and now her song is literally on the biggest trailer in the land. So yeah, there is licensing your music to film content or television content. And then, of course, there is the most important one, which needs a manager, looking for endorsements as an artist. As an artist, you're a brand and you influence a lot of people.
That's right.
And so you should find ways of making money off that brand. One, earlier we were talking about Burna Boy being an influencer for a whiskey.
That has ambassadors locally.
That has ambassadors locally as well. But of course, the fact that they have ambassadors locally is also the fact that those ambassadors are making money off their brands. Then I think there is that money transfer thing, Cheaper Cash, which also has ambassadors.
That's right.
That's how people actually make money off. But if people are not going to look for you, maybe you need to pitch yourself. You need to pitch yourself, that to tell them that you fit the profile, and maybe they should work with you.
All right. Now, of course, what's your Twitter handle?
At Maigandre.
At Maigandre. Do follow that guy so you can get some of those perspectives with regard to the music and arts industry. There's a lot that he has